right. All right. All right. I think we are a go. We are a go. Okay, great. We are a go. How's everybody doing today, guys? This is the retrospective. This is the retrospective. How's everybody doing, guys? Happy New Year in advance. I mean, I will be doing a New Year's show, but I guess Happy New Year in advance. We're going to be this is a retrospective on 2023, the year in Africa. The year in Africa 2023. I'm broadcasting to a whole bunch of places now. I'm actually on X for the first time and on YouTube and on Instagram simultaneously. So I'm broadcasting on all three simultaneously. So that is going to be interesting. Hi, my golden life. How are you? Happy holidays to you too. Happy holidays to you too. How have you been? What's been going on? Yeah, guys, I've been AWOL for a little bit because I've been trying to take care of a lot of things. Had a lot of things going on. I'm really also preparing for 2024. I've been preparing and just laying groundwork for a lot of things that I want to get done, you know, so that we can hit the ground running with plans, because it's been a really interesting year. Happy holidays, the real Leslie. How are you? Welcome. Welcome to the show, the real Leslie. Happy holidays to you too. And to everybody on Instagram, happy holidays. And everybody who, well, I don't know if anybody is on X at the moment, but happy holidays to you as well, if anybody happens to be listening over there. And it's the first time I've actually done this, broadcasting to that platform. So this is going to be really, let me see if I can pin this to my profile. Highlight, pin. Okay, wow. Yeah, I've been able to pin this to my profile. Okay, cool. Yeah, guys, so what we're going to be doing is, you know, talking about everything. We'll be talking about everything. We'll be just doing a quick overview of the year. I mean, it's funny that things have gone so quickly, because when I actually began and doing these shows, I remember when I started, I wasn't sure that I was going to maintain it to this level. Like, I was looking through the archives and I was like, oh my goodness, we've actually done a lot of shows. You know, it's been very consistent. I don't think that we've missed a week since the summer. I don't think a week has been missed since the summer, which is impressive to say the least. So we've definitely kept it going. And for that reason, there is so much that we've covered. And I thought it would be interesting to really sort of go through everything and what we remember about everything. And through that, you know, just really talk about what we've learned from the experience of 2023 and what we can look forward to in 2024. Because we've certainly ended, we've ended very explosively, I would say, with everything that's been going on in the last few months. So I think that things are going to be really pushing on for the coming year. So everybody who's coming in, you know, just let's do some housekeeping really quickly. As I said, I'm broadcasting on 3 platforms right now. I'm going live to YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter X at the same time. I don't actually use my Twitter as much as I should. I'm trying to really get into that as much as possible. And it's just been tough because I'm, managing so many platforms. It's difficult for me to actually maintain that one, but I am trying to get into it a bit more because I do know that there are some benefits of having a platform like that where you can reach people really fast with very quick updates and so on and so forth, which could be useful, at least in the interim. So I'll be looking to get more into the Twitter thing. And if anybody has tips and pointers on that, I'm not very good with that platform. I'm not very good with the platform. I've struggled with it. So if people have pointers of what I might be doing wrong and or ways in which to really get traction on there, let me know, because I really don't understand how it works. To be quite honest with you, I really just don't understand how that platform works. That being said, let's begin this conversation with how the year actually started, So, as you remember that I only really started my platform recently. When I say recently, it's only been a year. Last December was, we're in December now. So yes, last December, we're still in December, is when I started it. And, in the beginning, I was doing a lot of commentary on general things to do with Africa, the diaspora, Blackness, so on and so forth. Something which I actually want to go back to, but I wasn't doing as much of the Africa-focused material when it comes to current affairs and things that are going on the continent till a little bit later on in the year. And the video that really brought me into it, the one that really gave me the impetus to get more into the situation was BRICS. It was really the BRICS initiative. I'd heard about it, I'd known about it, but it was really BRICS that really made me pay attention to what was going on in the continent on a day-to-day basis, because that was such a paradigm-shifting initiative. And listen, I've talked about BRICS so much, I'm sure I do not have to go into exactly what it is and what it entails. I'm sure that everybody is very, very well versed in it by now. But that being said, that was really the first thing that got me into the Africa-focused side of things, because prior to that, the biggest thing that I reported on was the Cleopatra situation and controversy with the Netflix documentary that came out. And I had a video that I made that I still haven't released, that I'm still working on. I have to get finished. But the BRICS thing really took my mind away from it. And as we're doing a retrospective, I feel that the BRICS push, there were a few things about it for me. I think one of the things about it for me was the fact that I think it flared up in conjunction or in tandem with the acceleration of events in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. And I don't think that was an accident. I think, Putin and his initiatives, because of the escalation of conflict in the war that he's engaged in, needed to accelerate the BRICS initiative as a cushion for potentially what could or may not have happened in the conflict that he's involved in. Because look, regardless of how you look at things, there is never a certainty in anything. So he wouldn't have been going in knowing for sure that things were going to go as much in his favor as they have done. I think it's really ironic because if you remember a lot of the news reports, everybody had this as if Russia was getting destroyed. There were mutinies, people were walking away, surrendering, all of that talk. And listen, I knew it was all propaganda, but it was amazing how forcefully that narrative was pushed. And it's all turned out to be false. It's all not true, because if it was true, how on earth has Russia turned the if you're saying that they turned the tables this dramatically, that's very unlikely. That being said, Putin needed an out. And I feel BRICS was the out, or is the out. It is the alternative, it is the cushion. And it also signals to the West that I will not be bullied. And I don't need you. Because think about it. Russia has been sanctioned and cut off by everybody. And nothing's happened. Africa played a big role in that. Africa has played a big role in that. And I think that as a continent, we've benefited from the events in Russia and Ukraine in a major way. Because through that, there has been a ripple effect where the, how do I say this, the incentive for Russia, for example, to do the kinds of deals it's doing with Africa has been really high. It's been really high. They could have done these deals before, but they didn't have to. They weren't in a corner or in a bind where they felt the need to start soliciting meaningful infrastructure and power and trade deals with African nations. But now, based on the situation that's been occurring, they are in that position. And I think the year really began in a very positive way for Africa in that respect. I think it was very, very beneficial for us. So when I look at that conflict, I actually say to myself that, hey, for better or worse, it has been something that has worked out for Africa, because there's a lot of people, and I'm going to, I think I could actually segue into this now as we are talking about that. I could segue into it, is that a lot of people have talked about the idea that Africa, shouldn't be doing business with Russia, and that they can't be trusted, and you're just trading in one imperial power for another imperial power, and so on and so forth. And I find that incredibly disingenuous, because, let me put it this way. When you look at the history of the relationship between Africa and Russia, and then the relationship between Africa and these Western powers, we only have a history of take from the West. Subjugation, exploitation, colonialism, slavery, abuse, all of these things. Manipulation from the West. That is the history of it. How much worse could things get with anybody else? So the worst case scenario is that you're going to get like for like. That's the worst case scenario, because I cannot see how you can have a worse experience with any other partner. The key phrase being partner, because we don't have partnerships with Western nations. We don't. So I think that, these are elements that need to be addressed. These are elements that need to be taken account of. These are elements that need to be taken seriously. That when you're doing business, it's not important for you to like who you're doing business with. You don't even need to trust them. Trusting your business partners is a luxury. That's why you protect yourself. That's why you get lawyers. That's why you get contracts, because you don't trust who you're working with. If you trusted everybody, there would be no need for contracts. You'd just trust everybody is going to do what they said they were going to do. You have contracts because inherently you don't trust that people are going to do what they're going to do or what they say they're going to do. So realistically, it's a sliding scale. Of course, it's a sliding scale. But I think this is the thing. Okay, let me rephrase this. It is like the disrespect and the patronization of Western countries and Western people to Africans seeps through into the rhetoric of trying to tell us who we can and cannot do business. Forget even can. Who we should and should not do business with. For people who never communicate with us, never show any empathy for what we're dealing with, to all of a sudden be so concerned for our welfare with our relationship with Russia is hilarious to me. It is patently hilarious. Since when did you give a damn about how Africa is doing? Since when? When did that happen? That's how you know people are being disingenuous. It's like, we know you don't care. The only time you've ever mentioned anything, I mean, most of the people that you see commenting, look at their timelines and try and find when last they talked about Africa. The only time that they speak about Africa is to tell you not to work with Russia, not to work with China, aka don't work with any of our enemies. If Africa wants to work with France and they hear all the negative things France are doing, oh, they have no problems with that. They have no issues with that. Keep working with France. They'll see all the things you say about, oh, no, but they haven't got anything to say about Macron or France or anything, nothing. The second you talk about, oh, this is an issue, these people are duplicitous, they can't be trusted, this and that. Yet the history books show the people who've been cheating us are you guys, UK, France, so on and so forth. Germany, Portugal, Spain. It's not rocket science. So for me, working with Russia is a no-brainer. If for nothing else, to put pressure on the Western Bloc. I mean, it's like that's just business, because then you're going to have, they are forced to listen to what you have to say, because they know that they're not the only gig in town. They're not the only party on the block. So they're forced to, they actually have to have a conversation. And I think those things are really, really important. Really, really important. I mean, you can't have a scenario where you're talking to people and you're constantly, second guessing your own moves. That isn't the way business is run. We shouldn't be second guessing our moves. We should not be second guessing our moves. That being said, guys, I think, how do I put this? Going forward, this is what I would like, We're going towards a new dawn. And there are some people, and I will get on to Burkina Faso and Captain Traore later on in the show. We're going on to a new dawn, and there are some people who are scared to go forward. And then there are some people who are scared to lose what they have because they've invested in the status quo. And I'm talking about Black people, I'm talking about Africans, guys. Because we already know it goes without saying that, yes, people in the West would already feel that way. And that's normal. That's a natural reaction because you're worried about losing what you have. I'm talking about Africans and Black folks who have invested in the status quo. They've bought into everything. And their entire sustenance and livelihood is based on the status quo remaining exactly how it is. Because their business model is tethered to perpetuating victimhood for Africa and Black people, which is what it is. It is a very, very financially viable, profitable position to take. Now, from our point of view, and from anybody who is actually forward thinking and wants to make progress, that isn't something you should want to continue. That isn't something you should want to support. And in reality, people who think that way, who think in the way of, it's too risky to change, why you want to move, why do you want to have deals with these people? Those people need to be quickly left behind. I don't believe in trying to change minds. I don't believe in trying to convince anybody of anything. Based on all the information that is available to us now, you shouldn't need to have that conversation. And anybody that needs to be told that should just be left behind. You just move forward. Because I guess where I'm coming from is that, who was it that I can't remember who it was I was having this. Was it Super Pace? Maybe. Who was it? I can't remember who it was I was having this conversation with in it was one of the shows. And it really was about the fact that everything we do is still connected to whiteness, like, the Western perspective, the mainstream, in terms of validating our position and our worth and value that we bring to the world and value that we bring to what we do. We haven't yet developed to a point where we categorically don't need nor care about the opinions of any other society or culture. We haven't evolved to that yet. And that is where what we need to be striving for, because I think that ties very nicely into how Russia operates, which is something we should be emulating, because Russia don't give a damn, which is why Putin is still able to maintain power, because he gives them a sense of actual reverence for their own people, which is an important thing to be able to instill in your populace, is reverence for yourselves, where you believe that you are enough. And that's a very key phrase, guys, where you believe you are enough. Africa doesn't have that. Psychologically broken to such a degree that, you're constantly striving for validation, which is never a good thing. It is never a good thing. And that is the reason why I say that it's important that anybody who isn't on the train for changing that paradigm should just be left behind. Like, I don't think it's really something you should be conversing with folks about. I really don't think so. Let's see here. My golden life, how are you? Let me actually post the call-in. Let me post the call-in to bring in a few people here. Daryl Leslie, are you still here? Daryl Leslie, have you actually been on the show? I don't know if you've actually been on the show, but if you have been or haven't been on the show, there is the call-in. You should jump on. Let me bring some of you folks in here as we go through the year. Bring some of you in as we go through the year. Feel free to click the link and I will bring you in. But yeah, guys, so I find it interesting, and anybody who says anything negative about the Russian deals with Africa, I'm very suspicious of, because there is a difference between saying, be careful, make sure you're getting a good deal, and people saying that don't work with them. They're going to cheat you, or they're going to do this and a third, because that is literally what has been happening with Western nations, but we're not actually getting anything out of it. At least with this, you're getting something out of it. At least you're getting something out of it. Well, Daryl Leslie, feel free to join in. My Golden Life as well. Feel free to click the link. I'll bring you guys in. I'll bring you both in. It's members only access for the chat now. So seeing as you're both here, and you're both Patreons, actually, you're both on my Patreon. Daryl Leslie, I hope you've seen the latest video that I released on Patreon. I hope you've checked it out. Hope you guys have both checked it out. You know. Yes. Anyway, so I'm always wary of that. You know, I mean, I'm very wary. You know, let me go into another story that I had over the year. I talked about the coronation, the King Charles coronation, and I see my golden life is here. Let me bring you in. And I spoke about the coronation and talked about how, you know, it was interesting the way that, how do I put this? The way that African dignitaries and, you know, African singers and celebrities and so forth attended that event and essentially created a situation of, you know, you forgot what we've been through as the African continent. I commented on that, and you know, I'm going to get into that a little bit now, but I think it ties in nicely to a lot of the things I'm talking about. Hello, my golden life. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Uh-oh, I can't hear you for some reason. Let me get your volume up. Give me a second. Why can I not hear you? That's interesting. Hold on. Audio. Cancellation. Ah. There we go. There we go. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right.
So has my sound been poor? How has my sound been during this whole thing?
No, I can hear you just fine.
So it's been okay during the whole show?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Okay. Did my sound quality improve just now?
No, it doesn't make a difference on
Doesn't
my
make
end.
a difference.
So
Okay,
it must
good.
be just
Okay,
on
good.
your end.
It was probably because I had it on Bluetooth instead of the direct wire, but you know, that is all good. Let me see if I can bring in another guest. So what are your thoughts about before I get into this whole coronation thing? What are your thoughts about people who've been telling us not to work with Russia?
Yeah. So the West, I think the West actually sees the handwriting on the wall, especially the US and the UK.
Right.
And they're getting a little bit antsy about Russia getting involved and China getting involved in African affairs. And so that's why they're, you know, trying to make it so scary that, ooh, Russia, they're bad people.
Right.
And like you said, the mindset of Black people on the continent and in the diaspora is still kind of hooked into Western thinking, the idea that the West is the place to be and always will be the place to be. You know, when I was in Africa, I was still hearing Africans talk about, oh, I want to go to the United States
Right.
to do ABC.
Right.
And, you know, I'm telling them, no, honey, you stay right here. This is your home. This is where you can, this is where the opportunity, the field of opportunities is wide open for you. Stay right here. Don't go anywhere else. As a matter of fact, I want to come here and join you. I don't want to be in the US.
Right. The real Leslie, how are you? How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good, thank you. Hello,
Good evening. Good evening. If this is your first time,
I do
you've
realize
never even been on the Instagram feed, have you? Have you been on live on Instagram with us before?
No, I'm not really technical, so I don't think
Right. Okay, so this is your
I've
first
got
time.
on there.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for all your support. Glad to have you on.
No problem.
So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts with people telling us not to work with Russia?
Well, I think everyone wants to not care until they see us for the first time actually making moves that make sense. Because this makes so much sense. That's why they're bothered about it.
Right, right, exactly.
And a lot of Africans are just so unaware of what's going on
Unaware.
Hmm.
that
Yeah,
when I speak about it with people, they're like, what?
they
No,
have no
they're the
idea.
same. They're the same. And I said, they're not the same. We have no bad history with them in the same way. And they actually offering something we can negotiate, that we can work with. But there's a lot of distrust. There's a lot of, how should I describe it? There's a lot of like frustration, because they're like, at this point, we don't trust the West in totality. So that's why I'm a bit. I understand why everyone's not like jumping on to support the things that are going on just yet. But I
Right,
think once they actually see, okay, like these deals that have started, I think people are noticing. I just want to push the right people to notice, because when the right people notice these things, that's when other countries will start making moves.
right.
I hope. So, yeah.
I mean, I think that it's very obvious what is going on, and I think that is the reason why I say that we are not respected as a group of people. Because when something is this obvious, like it's so obvious that you're being disingenuous, it's so obvious that you know that you are trying to misdirect us, that the fact that you're still doing it, it shows that you just think that we're children. Like clearly, like we're little kids, that we can see something in front of us is Y and you tell us it's Z, and we just accept it because you said so. Like it's something that Tariq Nasheed says this a lot, and I find it a funny phrase because it's funny, but it's just weirdly true. You know when he says that I'm white and I say so. He has a phrase
Is
that he
that?
says. He says the phrase a lot when he says, you know, he talks about a lot of things that white folks do in the West, because he talks about it a lot, and there's a phrase he uses that I actually find quite funny, and it's like he says, "I'm white and I say so." And that's basically when you don't really have an argument, you're not making any sense. So then you just default to, I know I'm not making sense, but I don't need to make sense because I have all the
Yeah.
power
Hmm.
and I say so. So I'm just saying the law says that we can't. And you're like, no, the law doesn't say that. And you're like, well, that's just how it is. That is it is such a common default position when things go in a direction that there is no get out from. So in a situation like this, you go up to somebody and you say, well, you're telling us that they are bad for us, but we have no negative history with them. They've never colonized us, never enslaved us, never stolen from us, never cheated us. We don't have a lot of debts that we owe them. The debt that we even did have, they've forgiven that debt. Why exactly would we not work with them, but continue to work with the people who've done all of those things and worse?
Yes.
That is just the facts of it. And then when you tell them that, they're like, well, then do you know what? Then they start quoting all the things Russia has done to other people. And you're like, what has that got to do with us?
Exactly. Look at the war in Ukraine. Uh, yeah, that war doesn't have anything to do with
It
us.
doesn't have anything to do with us. And also, these things are from perspectives, because you look at it, it's like, yes, Russia did X. Why did they do it? And is anything they're doing that radically different from anything that you've done?
Right.
You've done way worse than they've done. So it's a very, very weird thing where people are looking you in the face and telling you that the sky is green. And you're like, no, it's not. And they're like, it's green. And you're supposed to
Hmm.
just accept that,
Yep.
and I think that because we're changing, look, everything, the whole house of cards is coming crashing down.
Hmm.
That is the reality. I I do, it's weird because I think this generation is not the lucky ones. The lucky generation are the generation after this one. I think the kids who are like 17, 20, they're not the ones who are really going to benefit from what's happening. It's the kids who are like 7 years old, you know, because I think it's going to take 20 years for this new thing to really, for us to see the fruition of the things that are happening now. It's going to take like 15 to 20 years, like a whole generation, for you to then really see the results of, for example, Burkina Faso doing all the things they're doing, Niger, Mali, Guinea, all of these countries, what they're doing now. I think it's going to take that long for you to see the real benefits of it.
Yeah.
But you will. And I think these guys, the people who are smart, are really worried because you notice if you go on my thread, for example, what you will see is that hold on, let me just see so I'm not getting too much feedback. Give me a second. All right, so you can unmute when you want to speak, so I don't get, because I'm getting feedback in my headphones. The thing is this: we have a scenario that there are two different types of people that comment on my posts, who are not within the community. Because I actually like to encourage, or I would say, I encourage conversations with people from outside of the Black community, outside of the African community, people, because everything I talk about is about humanity as a whole, but making sure that as the Black community, as the African community, we actually have a level playing field. Like we actually are able to come to the table autonomously with power, not with power that was given to us by somebody else that they can just take it away or manipulate it. But like, no, this is our position. This is what we have. So therefore, if you want to deal with us, you're going to have to deal with us on an even playing field. That's a very, very different place to be. Now, for me, when looking at the situation of the kinds of comments that I get people who completely dismiss what is happening because it is very difficult for them to process the idea of a strong Africa, of a prosperous Africa. So when they see a whole bunch of Africans on a platform celebrating, talking about positive things, talking about freedom, talking about, taking back control of your wealth and your thing, their reaction instinctively is to laugh at you. Their reaction instinctively is to make fun of you because the concept of powerful Africans is just not something that they can process because understandably, they've never seen that before. You're supposed to be a joke. You're supposed to be weak. You're supposed to be poor. You're supposed to be diseased. You're supposed to be broken. You're supposed to be finished. That's what you're used to seeing. So when you start seeing people talking about strength from Africa and like taking control of, especially in the face of Western nations, to them it is hilarious. It's funny to them, regardless of what is in front of them. That's one group. The other side are the people who I believe are actually intelligent and know what this means. And those are the guys who really react very strongly in a negative, like they will come out and give you a dissertation. Like you look at my comments, these guys are writing essays. And I'm sitting like, why are you so bothered with what we're doing that you're writing 3 chapters, 4, 5 chapters on my YouTube comments?
Yeah, Merk, I don't know. I think white people are subconsciously fearful of Black people because as devastated as the Black community is here in America,
Truth.
they always have like some kind of plant, or we're always under some kind of surveillance. Um, it's like, what are they looking for? You know, FBI is digging into somebody's account. It's like, what the hell? I mean, you've destroyed us enough. What
Well,
more can we do?
no, because Because let me be real. Okay. This sounds so weird to say it, but black people are very strong.
We
That's
are
that's
strong.
that's the reason. That's the
We
reason.
are
It's
strong.
like once you've seen that no matter what we do, we cannot crush these guys. We've
Yeah.
done everything, psychological damage, we've done physical abuse, we've done financial
Yeah.
literally every possible thing you can do to hold a group of people back, you've executed it, and
Hmm.
they still overcome it.
Yeah. You
Of
haven't
course you're going to be
completely
afraid because
exterminated
you're
us.
thinking, what if, imagine a world where these people had no barriers, what would they be doing?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, you're thinking that. But I have another theory. I have a very different theory to this, and this actually is something that I started thinking about recently. And I said, adversity builds character, they say.
Hmm.
So if you apply that to an entire group of people, I feel white people inadvertently created the monster that they're afraid of.
Yes, they did.
Like,
And they
you
always
abused
do.
people so much that you made them incredibly powerful
Hmm.
because of the abuse. Like, all the things that you've done, you've created people that, if there were only two things that were going to happen, they were going to either die or they were going to become stronger than the abuse that you put on them so
Hmm.
they could survive, which is what nature is. That's what nature is. You
Yeah.
either die off, natural selection, on those who survive are stronger than the whatever it was that killed those that died off. Now, the catch 22 is this. This is the catch 22. If you didn't need this group of people, you might have gone further in trying to just wipe us out with disease or whatever it was going to be.
Hmm.
But the problem was you needed the human resource for slavery, and like for all the other things you needed, you needed a certain amount of these guys to be alive. Even in
Hmm.
the colonies in Africa, it's like, you don't want to wipe them out because you couldn't live there. The environment was too harsh. You want to control the people there, but you actually living there, even to this day, and we're in 2023, it is not easy for a European to just go and live in Nigeria. It's not like a straightforward thing. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, you can do it, but you have to you have to control so much: air conditioning,
Hmm. Hmm.
sunscreen, this and that. There's mosquitoes, malaria. There's so
Hmm.
many things you have to just control to survive there. You know, that the idea that all of you en masse could just move there, no, a lot of you will just die off.
Yeah.
That's the truth. If you had a mass migration from Europe, a lot of guys wouldn't be able to survive in Ivory Coast and Nigeria and all these sort of places.
Yeah.
A lot of black people wouldn't even survive if they moved from Europe, you know, to those sort of places. So I think
They would survive. They would just have to get used to it.
now a lot of them wouldn't survive. No, I really think that you have a better chance. I would say that because melanin, you have the
Mm.
genetic makeup that your chances are much higher. But I don't think you can discount just the lack of conditioning and natural immunity to a lot of conditions and diseases that you have if you're just living in Africa. And what I mean is that what would happen is that a certain percentage would just not survive. And then a certain percentage would survive. And then that is the group that will continue to pass on their DNA.
Hmm.
So I guess it's when you look at it, it is definitely a case of we are who we are in a weird way because of these guys. Like
Yeah.
we wouldn't be who we are if not for the levels of subjugation that we've had. I just think that where we are today, which is why I wanted to even do this review. This has been an incredible year
Yeah.
for Africa. Like I don't think I've ever seen a year like this in my lifetime. Because when you think about it, all these things from BRICS to the coup in Burkina Faso, not the coup, but Captain Traore's deals, but the coup in Niger, Gabon,
Hmm.
what do they call it? The coalition, the Sahel coalition between those
Yes.
countries, and all of these sort of things. This has all happened in 1 year,
Yeah. In a matter of a few months,
in
actually.
months.
Hmm.
It is on, and then BRICS expanded this year as well. You
Yeah.
know, So I
And they're
mean,
getting ready to uh, hit the world markets with the new currency.
right.
I'm really interested to see how that's going to affect things.
Yes. No. I mean, it's. Look, as I said, it's a year that has been outstanding. Daryl, Leslie, how about you? What are your thoughts on the year? What do you think of the year so far? Well, not so far. Like, what? How impactful on Africa do you feel the year's been? You have to unmute your mic, Daryl, Leslie, if it's muted.
How do you unmute it?
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go.
Is it working?
Yeah, we can hear you
Yep,
now.
we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's been very impactful. And me, I live in the UK, and people are very like ignorant here. I don't know if it's the same in the US, but are very ignorant here, and they didn't believe a lot of the things that was going on when when I brought it up. And I think as soon as I gave them, some sort of link to what's going on, I think that's when they're like, oh, really? This is happening? Like, this is real?
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know why, but because because people seem to be very like in disbelief that we can actually improve, that we can work as a team, that we can say, okay, this is wrong, and now we're gonna overthrow, we're gonna do these coups and whatnot. I think I'm just excited about where that's gonna go, and I'm just really hoping that countries like South Africa, Congo, Cameroon, these places are watching what's going on very closely. Nigeria as well,
Well, you know that
because
Nigeria is Nigeria is that's a whole other
I
that's a
know,
whole other
but
situation.
I've sent this to all my Nigerian friends. Like I've let them know what BRICS is. A lot of them didn't know what BRICS is.
Where are you from, though? Where are you from?
I'm Congolese.
Congo.
Yes, I'm
Wow.
Congolese. So
Wow.
if
Which Congo? Which one?
RDC,
Ooh, damn,
yeah. So the
damn.
like I'm sure you know what's going on
Yeah,
over there.
that's a whole other
It's
conversation.
it's it's a lot. It's a lot. So I'm just really hoping that there's people in high places in high positions that can start to make moves and create more coups. I don't even mind if coups go on in canon next year, like domino effect. It will be beautiful because
yeah,
we need to
Yeah,
shake
no,
it up
yeah,
so
yeah,
much
yeah,
yeah.
no,
to
yeah.
cause a big effect.
I mean, I don't want to officially say it on my platform per se, so I won't say anything, but
Mm,
I mean, we can't keep going the way we're going.
Yeah.
Like it's
no.
it's it's just, and also you know what I found out is when I look at what this little platform has done. This is a baby platform.
Mm,
It's baby. Like we haven't got 10 million subs or anything. It's not like we're getting millions of views every show or whatever. But when I look at just what this has done, it's because there is a hunger for this message, for this mentality. Like there's a lot of Africans who are sick and tired of what's going on. So once they can hear anybody who is just reiterating what's already going, I'm not saying anything that a lot of guys aren't thinking. A
mm.
lot of guys are already thinking a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, but I'm just articulating, and people are like, oh, finally, I'm not crazy. This is
I think it's
what,
also hope.
right? Well, yes, yes, no. I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, I think for me, it's become overwhelming because I've I see how much needs to happen, and I don't think I can do everything I want to do. So it becomes really overwhelming. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm just at it from the second I open my eyes till I sleep every single day. Just every day I'm just like boom, boom, boom. And it's never ending. I just wake up at the next day and it's more and more and more and more. To the point that I just take a step back and I say, you know what? It's not going to be possible to address everything and to do everything that I feel needs to happen to actually create real momentum. It's going to just be important to pick what what your focus is going to be, you know, because there's just too much. There's just too much, and there's too much of a wave pushing back against you as well. So it's not like everything is pushing in the right direction. There's also a wave pushing back against you because, as I said earlier on in the show, there's a lot of people within the African and Black community and the diaspora and so forth who want things to stay how they are.
Because they're benefiting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they do not want you to change anything, you know. And I'm going to say something, and it's actually really, you're in the UK, so you'll understand this, but and I think people in America will understand this as well. I'm always suspicious if a Black messenger is endorsed by the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust them. I don't. And it's actually an automatic thing now. It's not even, I don't even look at any details anymore. It's just an automatic reaction. Is that if I see a messenger and it sounds right, you know, it sounds cool, what they're saying sounds cool and everything, but then I look at them and I see that they are endorsed. Like they do not frighten the mainstream. The mainstream are not scared of them. They're given a platform. They're supported. They're paid. I don't trust them anymore. Like and I don't care what they're saying anymore, because in my subconscious, I almost feel like it is an oxymoron. You can't be African liberation and be embraced by the mainstream. It just doesn't. It's an oxymoron. It's an opposite.
It's like they're acting like what do you call those things? Like a decoy?
Trojan horse.
A Trojan horse. Yes.
Yes. Yes. I mean, but again, that's just me because of my experiences and just looking, and I'm saying that, you know, that never fails. I can't think of a single, name somebody for me, and I want you guys to really think about this. An African advocate, Black advocate, African advocate, either or, who is supported and celebrated by the white mainstream or by the mainstream in general, you know, because I don't want to even say white mainstream because the mainstream is now full of everybody. So it's not just one race anymore. But I just want you to give me one name, like of somebody who is you know, somebody who speaks about these issues and champions Africa, but is also embraced by the mainstream.
I can't think of anybody.
The real Leslie, anybody?
No.
I can't think of a single person that is, or even if I make it the question, I just skew the question slightly. Of all the people who are endorsed by the mainstream, do you trust any of them?
No.
I'm skeptical anyway.
Mm-mm.
You say what?
I said I'm always skeptical.
Oh, right.
Because you have to assume that they've already been bought and paid for. So, you know, their message is not going to be sincere. And they're acting as the Trojan horse for the West to sneak in and destroy things.
Right. I actually don't think it's even that. Sometimes it's not that nefarious. I think sometimes it's a case of certain types of guys are selected because they're certain types of guys. You know, you have a certain kind of personality and perspective. You then become very attractive to the mainstream as a spokesperson for the Black community.
And then in that selection process, you're going to get rewarded somehow.
Oh yes, very
There's a
well.
reward.
They're
So
viable.
yeah,
That's why.
they're viable. Exactly. So that's why I said they've already been bought and paid for, by the powers that be. So you definitely can't trust them.
That is why I think that we should be very, very alert and aware of that. And even in having the conversations that we have on the platform, it's I'm more worried about that than anything else. I think that is more dangerous than any outside force. We keep talking about, oh, I'm France. I'm like, those guys are not. I'm not worried about them. Like you know where those guys are coming from. You can see them. I'm actually more concerned about within the community as we are now. I look at Captain Traore, for example. We can talk about him now. It's like you have a guy, he's 35 years old, president, cool. He is from a generation where, at his age, he was born in like what, 1990? you know,
Like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Like, this is a guy he was 10 years old in like 2000. So his worldview is very different from a lot of other people. Like the way he's looking at the world is not like a lot of other folks. So the kinds of things he's willing to do, and the fact that he's willing to do it is a symbol and a sign to other people. It's the reason why I feel we should actually be doing more to highlight his work so that more Black and African people can see him and start emulating him,
Hmm.
because here's a guy, look at a president who comes in with a coup and compare him to Teddy Nguema, the vice president of Equatorial Guinea that I talked about. One guy is like living the luxurious lifestyle and putting it on social media. And you've got another guy who doesn't have anywhere near the money that this other person has, but is doing everything he can for the sake of his community and his country. It's and these are and one of these guys is 20 years younger than the other person.
Yeah. There's there's a difference of character definitely between the two of them. And also, yeah, possibly. So if Nguema is 20 years older than Traore,
Right.
yeah, so he grew up in the
Different
he's still in
times.
that generation that was brainwashed by Western culture and Western thinking. He's taken the poison pill and ingested it, and yeah, he's in that mindset of greed and selfishness, um, thinking only about himself. I'm talking about Nguema.
Yeah, I agree with that. He looks very materialistic
Hmm.
There are
from the
so many
outside.
and there are so many of them. I mean, it's like he's a representative of like so many. In fact, I think that every African nation has one of those guys in power, who's doing something similar to the country, and it's I think that we've now gotten to a point, and we're at the end of the year now. So looking back at it and looking forward, well, looking back at the year, and then taking that to look forward. I think what is important now is that you don't let the momentum slow down, and that you're able to keep the pressure on so that change keeps happening. As you said, it will become a wave across the whole continent. You hope that the
Mm.
pressure continues and the momentum continues in a way that it just becomes a wave. And everybody just starts emulating what these guys are doing. You know, because in America, like we have wars going on, we have Africa, like we've talked about, all the stuff that's going on there. And people are focused on NBA, on NFL, on Drake,
Yeah,
on Kanye West. I'm like,
yeah, Cardi B
Cardi
and her
B and
husband broke up, and this one
that,
and that
yeah.
one and a third. Yeah, and nobody's paying attention to anything else. All of these things are a distraction, and they're
Distraction.
meant to be a distraction.
You
They're
do not
meant to
have
be,
time for that.
but they're pushed out in the media. So, and it's so distracting. It pops up all over everywhere. And if you don't have the education, I guess, or the awareness to even take in what's going on the continent and around the world, uh, you're not going to pay any attention to anything but this superficial, mediocre stuff that's being pushed out in the media.
Right. Right. I mean, and again, I think that is something that we've got to take responsibility for,
We
because
do.
we're look at the kind of material that we're putting out, look at the kind of material that we're pushing forward. We are also not willing to. It's us too. Like I look at our community and I just say, look, what are we investing in? If you look at my page, that video that I had about that vice president guy. Do you know how many messages I've had from people from Equatorial Guinea defending it? A lot.
Defending who? You
Him,
or the
him,
Kim? Okay.
yeah, and coming at me.
Yeah.
I've a lot of those messages, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, you see, this is why it continues, and
Because I think images like that make people thirsty. You know what I'm saying? So you put those images out in the mainstream, like here in America, you have images of rappers and um, entertainers and sports people, and all the glitz and the glam after they've made it. And that's pushed out into the consciousness, and it makes people thirsty, like, oh, I want a piece of that. I want to strive for, that's what I want to strive for.
right,
And not realizing that, these particular people, most of them are selected, and most of them have been bought and paid for, with the athletes. It's the different sports companies that will sponsor them and pay for their training, but then they
right.
have to do whatever is asked of them once they start receiving those checks, and they have to basically sell their souls. So that's, I mean, that's what the young people are being faced with, is this image that's projected in the media, and they're so thirsty to have what the media is projecting.
It is, and I think why this year has been important. It's all about options and choice, and creating the or promoting the reality that there are other options available, and that the pathway to success and validation doesn't lie solely with the things that are put in front of you in the mainstream media. Like, it just doesn't. And I think the more that we can make it cool to give back to Africa and to become autonomous and self-sufficient, the more you can make that cool, the easier it will be to deconstruct a lot of these things that we're talking about. To have a situation where if you put Cardi B and all this stuff on the screen, people just aren't interested anymore. You know, and I think the only way is that it starts at the grassroots, actually developing developing a society where we actually have control over what we consume, and we're not just like, we're not at the mercy of, it's weird to be in a situation where we're having this conversation, but we don't actually have control over the material that we're consuming, which is
Mhm.
weird, because then you're just really at the mercy of whatever, whoever it is that's creating this stuff and putting it in front of you. You know, which actually, as we said about the captain, him getting into power, doing the deals that he's done, I am worried about his security.
Yeah.
I it's a concern, because these guys tend not to last. They don't tend to last very long. Some weird thing always happens to them. You know, So the only thing I can say with him is that because of social media and because of all these things and how popular he's getting, it is going to be harder for people to do something funny um, without risking a major issue. But I think he needs to be even more famous. I think he needs
Yeah.
to. We need to make him so famous that if anything happens, like people know that it's going to be a worse situation if something happens to him than not. Because if he becomes inspirational enough and people start following in his footsteps enough, then somebody trying to take him out knows that him being removed in that way will create 20 replacements, you know. Which is why I go back to what Daryl Leslie said earlier, that hopefully it starts a domino effect of multiple. If you have 20 leaders in Africa who are like this, what are you going to do? Get rid of all 20?
Hmm.
I don't think you can. So,
Yeah.
that being said, what if I was going to give you, as we should probably close out the show in a minute, but if I was going to, or you were going to say one thing about 2023 that stood out to you the most, what would that be, each of you?
Hmm.
Hmm.
That one's tough, but I think the bricks, knowing about bricks and learning about bricks, I think that was quite a big deal for me, because I see that long term having a significant effect to help the continent. So I think the coups are amazing, but I think that's why I want it to continue momentum, like you're saying, because I think it can easily slow down and be distracted by other things that may come up, which is why it's so important to push these these bricks as well at the same time, because it makes things come to effect in 5 years time, in 10 years time, and so on, not just now, because some people are don't have the trust. So even though there's these things happening now in some countries, they don't see it ever happening for them. But when you have things like BRICS that are going on, that is countries coming together and working as a team to make deals and whatnot and make a new world, you could say, that that gives people a lot of hope that something's gonna change eventually, that's gonna be so significant that it's gonna, what's the word, it's gonna be able to rebuild
Hmm.
places that have just fallen, places that have lost hope, people that have lost hope.
Right.
So for me, it's probably bricks because of what it means or what it's gonna stand for in the future.
Right, right, right. Yeah, no, I mean that's a good one. And you, my golden life, how about you?
Let's see. I don't know. It's between BRICS and the war with Palestine and Israel. I see that as a big divider between um, divider of Black people. It could split us. It could split us or bring us together. I don't know about bringing us together, but yeah, there's Super Pace.
Yes. Hello,
Uh,
Super Pace. How are you?
Super
Welcome.
Pace. Um, yeah, I definitely started paying attention to um, my own personal finances when I began to understand what BRICS was and what the potential impact of it could be
Right,
on the American dollar. And
right.
it made me kind of want to push forward a little bit more, even faster um, with my search to find a home outside of the U.S. because I've been considering it for probably the last 4 or 5 years, and last year I even went to Panama
Right.
to I went on a relocation tour to Panama to look at
You wanted
property.
to go to Panama?
Yeah,
Wow.
because well, I think underneath, I always wanted to be in Africa
Right.
or in a country that was majority Black.
Right. Right.
Africa was first, and then a majority Black country was second. And
Right.
then I just kept getting this false information that Africa is too difficult to navigate. You wouldn't be able to navigate.
Right. Right.
You wouldn't be able to live there. So I don't
You
know. BRICS just made me look at my finances and what I would be able to do, where I
right.
would be able to go. And Africa, it was confirmed when I went to South Africa that Africa is my home and it will always be my home. So, uh,
Wow. Yeah. No. I mean, that's. Listen, I concur with both of you. I think for this last year, you know what? It's a tie between Captain Traore and Bricks. Captain Traore, because of the fact of it's what he represents, that um really War Dog. Who is War Dog? I don't know who this is. Who is what? I'm actually curious to see who this is, guys. Hold on. I have no
mhm.
idea. I have no idea who this is. But it must be a member. So, it's a member. Let me bring War Dog in here. Give me a second. But yes, no, Bricks is definitely what. Do you know what the thing is? The thing about Bricks for me is that there are so many aspects to it that, oops, oh damn, I just accidentally did something. Oh, here we go. There are so many aspects to it that I feel it's difficult to just call it one thing. Because I never even did the story about the BRICS internet. I never did the story about that. Did you guys know about that? They're coming up with their own
Yeah,
internet
they're coming
service.
out with their own internet.
I mean, I
Yes,
didn't
I
even
knew
get to
that.
that story.
Mm.
Hello, War Dog 42. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
This is your first time on the show. Where are you calling in from?
I am calling in from Southern California, in the United
Okay.
States. My name in the chat was Omari. You were the one talking to me last time about being from Long Beach.
Oh,
That's me.
right,
Yeah.
right, 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 right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's good to be here. It's really good to be here. It's an honor.
Right. Oh, yeah. Cool. So, how long have you been on the platform?
You know what? I first started hearing about you earlier this year through
This
TikTok.
is
Yeah.
saying hearing about me like, like
Yeah, yeah. So I started. I first heard you on TikTok, and I'm losing my mind. I'm hearing all of these topics, and I'm telling my family. I'm running back and forth. I'm like, yo, you guys have to, get hit with what he's talking about.
right.
Especially now, I kind of came in a little bit late, but I hear individuals talking about bricks and the internet that's also being
Yeah,
created. And
no, I mean, this is just a retrospect. It's just 2023. We're just going through the year, and so this is the internet thing. I have that story. I didn't have time to make a video on it. It's on my newsletter. So if you're reading my newsletter, you would have actually heard the podcast on Bricks Internet some weeks ago. So people who are on the newsletter have some access to my articles, like the articles that I write about certain things. So I did an article, our podcast episode on bricks ages ago, internet. But that in and of itself is such a big deal that I was like, I don't even have time to do a video on it because it would take a while to even get into that because of what it could potentially mean. It's the
Mhm.
reason why I feel Putin is the guy we've got to roll with because he's a renegade. Like And that's what we need now. I don't say that we need it long term. What we need right now is a powerful renegade partner, somebody who is not afraid of America
Mm-hmm.
and isn't afraid of England or France. He's the only world leader that is categorically not scared of them. He's not afraid of them at all. In fact, they are scared of him.
Yeah, because he has the most nukes.
He has the nukes, you know,
He has
and
the most nukes.
they know he will press the
That's a
button.
good reason.
And they know he'll press the button. So
He ain't scared.
no, he's not. So I think it's a very, very important guy for us, because it's somebody who we have a common foe, and it's weird even saying it's a foe, because that's literally what it is. It's like it's people say, oh, no, but you are the enemy, because you're never thinking about our best interests ever. Like, it's just nothing the Western Hemisphere does is done where the first that as a primary thought in their head is what is going to help Africa. That's never the case. The primary thought is, how do we keep Africa supplying us with resources? What do we do whereby that can keep happening? That's it. That's the primary thought. So if that's the situation that you have, and you've been able to do that for so long without giving us anything, that's a bad deal. But War Dog, when you were coming in here, because as an American, are you from Africa, or you're just straight up America, Black America?
So yeah, I'm Black American categorically. I actually just did ancestry and figured out that I'm actually 1/3 Nigerian.
Okay.
But being a Black person in America, I was just talking to my grandmother not too long ago about this. We spend $1.1 trillion
Yep.
annually as a group of people, and when it comes to talking about organizing and doing for self, we have to be producers to a certain degree on this side of the world, and individuals in Africa have to also be producers on that side. So maybe when you're talking about the leaders like Putin, even the Mohammed, the new the president of Morocco, I don't know if you've heard.
No, I haven't heard. No, what?
There was recently an agreement between the president of Morocco and also the Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, about allowing them naval space and space to trade through commerce.
Allowing who naval space?
The three countries that united in West Africa.
Oh, you mean the Mali and all these guys?
Yes, yes.
Who said this? Morocco?
Morocco.
Really? That's surprising.
Yes, they're allowing them to actually operate through their ports and their
Is the president black or something?
Surprisingly, the president is not black. But he's
Interesting.
Moroccan. I mean, Putin's not black, but
Yeah, no, I know
the
that. But you see,
agenda, yeah.
North Africa have a weird. Those
Yeah.
guys have a very weird situation going on.
Right.
So,
Right. So initially I was like, I don't know. I'm a bit, on the fence about getting aid from people like that. But it may just very well come to that. But simultaneously, we have to also be working on protection of our culture and being producers again so that we can establish something for ourselves. I'll let you.
100%. Like that. Listen, what you said is the holy grail, but it's also what Black America is most afraid of. They're scared.
Agreed.
Black America is scared to be free. People talk about, oh, we want to be free. No. You see, the thing is, I have a luxury of having grown up in 3 continents. And I became a man in the United States of America, New York and Los Angeles. And what I saw there, I realized, I was like, no, the problem, forget white people. That's not your issue. You're your own issue. It's not, it's in here. There's all the outside stuff is the outside stuff. The issue is actually in the all the minerals, like when I say the minerals, the abilities, the resources, the wherewithal, the intellect, the talent, everything exists in Black America. Like, Black America has everything that they need to be free. Like, there's nothing that they do not have to be free. And this is on top of the fact that X million of your men are in prison. Even with that, you still have what you require to do everything. Because when you take that statistic into account, that is a staggering statistic. I don't know what the exact number is, but it's in the millions of Black men in prison. That's a massive percentage of the community that's just taken out of commission. Just gone, like just not even in the game. So when you take that into account, and I didn't even bring up the number of women in prison, but from a percentage of a population that's like 12%, whatever it is, and such a big percentage of that group is just taken out of the game, yet you still are able to have that spending power. You still are able to have that impact on culture. You're still able to do all of these things that you're doing. It's a very, very important thing for us as a community to start addressing the real issue. And the real issue is psychological. It isn't all this politics and none of that is important. It's all psychological, like everything. The whole problem is that we're not thinking the right way.
Yeah.
We're just not thinking the right way. Because if you look at it and say, oh, wait a minute, why is it that all that money is being spent outside of the community? Well, it's because we haven't created a culture where people are incentivized to build infrastructure within the community so that you can spend within the community. Like,
Exactly.
There's no incentive to do that. It's like, yeah, what's the
culture that we create is marketed to the rest of the world, and that's it.
No, this is the. I'm going to make it worse. I'm going to make it worse. This is the worst part. What I'm going to say now is slightly esoteric, but I'm sure you guys will appreciate what I'm about to say. Now, this is the okie doke that has been done on our brains. When you've broken people down so deeply, and I'm talking about Africans and Black Americans, that you've broken these guys so much that the thing that they desire most is to have you say that they are good at something. The thing that they desire most is to have you do the thing that they created. For them to be able to see you dancing their dances, to be able to see you see what I'm saying? Like, to be able to see you wearing their clothes, to be able to see you at the barbecue, at the cookout, to be able to see you use some of their lingo, to be able to see you rapping, to be able to see you speaking in their patois, to be able to see that in and of it, which is the reason why politicians, what do? They come in and they start using hot sauce. They come in and they start dancing with you and playing
to get your votes.
To get your vote, because they know that you are so broken that all they have to do is show that they connect with you in some simple way, some performative thing, and that's all that needs to happen. Now, when you take that into account, what then happens is, as a community, as a group of people, you're always chasing that high. The high that you're chasing isn't the high of self-determination. The high you're chasing is the high of seeing mommy and daddy patting you on the head or doing something that you've done. Saying that, oh, what you created is so amazing that we want to do it now. And then all of a sudden you feel elated by it. That is the problem, because the reality of things is this. If we had a society where we simply didn't give a damn whether you're doing what we do or not. In fact, let me take it a step further. We don't even want you to do what we're doing. We're like, no, listen, we want to have control. That is where it connects with what you said earlier about marketing what you make to the rest of the world. If you took pride in yourselves and you didn't care about what anybody thought, you would then see value in what you made and you would want to control it. You would demand control. You'd be like, I don't want whether you say you're going to pay me 20 million, that is not worth me controlling it for 1 million. I will only make 1 million, but at least I control it because it's mine. That mentality, and that is the mentality other cultures have. From Scottish, Irish, whatever. Guys
And
have that
it's
mentality.
in the identity. So we don't have a very distinct identity. We've always tried to be good Americans, and we don't have a distinct identity. Those other cultures, the Irish have Ireland, the Scottish have Scotland, the Jews, they're claiming Israel. You know, all of these other people have an identity outside of America. We don't have a powerful, strong identity. We tried to get it back in the 60s, but it fell apart.
Right.
It fell apart. It wasn't strong enough. It wasn't tight enough.
Right. Daryl, Leslie, and War Dog, you still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, good. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think it's a very important determination in terms of why we are sort of where we are now, is that I feel like in 2023, we are still chasing validation. We still care about the medals of honor. We still care about them. We still care about the accolades.
The Grammys and the
Grammys,
Oscars.
all of these sort of things that we did not make these things. And as long as we didn't make them, it means that the power to validate us is in the hands of somebody else. Now, the fact that in 2023, we're still there, for me, it's very disheartening. I have to be honest. Like, I actually look at this and I feel very disappointed in us as a whole global group, the diaspora, the African diaspora, that in 2023, we haven't transcended. We still haven't transcended that. We are still chasing those things. You know, we still want to have those badges of honor. We still want to be. When I talked about the coronation, that is the reason why a South African singer is going to accept an invitation to go and sing for Prince Charles. You'll accept it because you think it means something. You think it's an honor to go there, as opposed to you taking a step back and saying, this guy is the king of an empire that destroyed my ancestors and my homeland. And the reason why my people are still living in concentration camps in townships in South Africa is because of the legacy of what this guy's people did. For me to then go and sing for the crowning of the next monarch of that empire is a disgrace and an insult to my ancestors. That is the way, and do you know the reason why I say this? Do you think you could get anybody from, like, for example, an American pop star to go and sing for the Ayatollah of like Iran or something or whatever? Like, do you think you could get, that's important. Do you know what? Even if that person did it and that footage gets out, his life is finished in America. He's finished. You might as well just stay there. Do not go back to America. You're finished. Your friends are finished. You're finished. And then that footage is gonna be broadcast in Iran, that you're singing to the king of Iran or whatever for his coronation or for his inauguration. Can you imagine that? That is you couldn't do it. Like, no American who believes in America is going to do that, or go to China to sing for the president of China. You're not going to do it. The other way around, though, and the crazy thing is, those people do not have a history of abusing your people. They are just your political enemy. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not like Iran has a history of subjugating America and whatever. They don't. Neither does China. They're just your political enemy. But you have such a strong level of identity and unity and nationalism that you stay on code, period. Us, on the other hand, people who have a legacy of abuse and are still abusing your community, you're going to sing for them.
Yeah.
It was one of the most, like I said, I made a video about it. That video of that lady, the South African woman with the yellow dress, pretty something. It's one of the worst things I ever seen in my life. It literally is. It's literally, I watched that and I felt sick because all I saw, I was like, and I think it's what I keep saying about Africa as a united place. I'm South African too.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm geographically from Nigeria, or what we call Nigeria, but I'm also South African. It's like I'm looking at that. I'm insulted.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it. I'm personally insulted by what she's doing. I'm like, do you know what your ancestors went through at the hands of these people? What are you doing there? And then people said, oh, what is she supposed to do? Turn down the invitation? Yeah,
Yes,
obviously.
she should turn it down. That's
Obviously.
why I think Julius Malema's message about Africans uniting and there being a borderless Africa, and that Africans, no black man should pick up a weapon and harm another black man. That message is so important, and it should be a viral message all throughout Africa and the diaspora.
War Dog, what do you think?
I agree with what she's saying, especially with Julius Malema. I mean, talking about a borderless Africa and establishing, one currency. I mean, could you imagine one currency and one military for the continent? I
Yeah.
mean, really, what we have to look at is what we value as a people and how
That would be
integration
scary
has
though, man.
graded. It would be extremely.
That
Listen,
would be
let me tell
scary.
you something. As soon as that date comes, we won't have to raise a gun.
No, you won't even
Yeah.
you won't need to do anything.
We won't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything.
People will be back at our feet and back on our shores to broker deals
Yeah, no,
because they
it would be
understand they're
scary.
not dealing with a weak
No, you're
people.
not dealing with weak people anymore. In fact, you know
No,
what? We don't even need North Africa. If
Yeah.
all
no.
of
We
if
just need
all of
West
West
Africa and South
Africa,
Africa.
East Africa, and South Africa just united and said, you are North
Mhm.
Africa, you claim you're not part of Africa, good. Do your own thing.
Bye.
Everybody else just
See you
unite
later.
and just say, see you later. Listen, you will see Egypt knocking on your door the next day.
Yeah.
The next day. The reason why these people are misbehaving is because they think that Africans, the other Black Africa, will never unite. So they have nothing to worry about. If Black Africa do you know how, you see, we're talking here as if, let me put it to you this way. Do you think people are not having meetings about what Captain Traore is doing? These guys are having meetings every day about this. They're scared.
There's some feedback somewhere.
I think somebody
Yeah, I
is.
don't know if you
I've
have
got
to mute
another.
somebody.
Yeah, I've got another person joining in as well. Give me a second. Let me pull somebody else in. Finally, so people are now. Hold on, I'll bring you in a second. You said you have who has feedback?
I think it's cleared up now, but I was
It's cleared
hearing
up.
like an echo.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything myself.
Yeah. It's
I'm
it's
trying.
better.
I'm trying to. Yeah, so I think that people are really, really worried about it, and the less that they're talking about it is because they do not want anybody to notice. I think that's what it is. I think that people do not want anybody to notice like what is going on. Callie, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hello,
Can
how
you
are
hear
you?
me? Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Is this your first time on the show?
Yeah.
Welcome, welcome. Where are you calling in from?
UK.
UK. What part of the UK?
Um, Luton.
Luton.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate territory. Um,
Everyone says that.
it's true.
Everyone
He's made
literally says
Luton
that to
famous.
me.
Now,
Yeah,
like the guy has made
he
Luton.
definitely has.
Before Andrew Tate, nobody gave it. I know Luton, but before Andrew Tate, like nobody talked about Luton. Like now, the whole world knows about Luton because of those guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to the show. How long have you been following the platform?
I'll say like about. So first, I found it on TikTok, but it was like I think it was last year. Yeah,
Okay,
last year.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What, last year? Wow. So you're from the OG times.
Yeah, TikTok. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And let me get. Are you Nigerian?
No.
Oh, okay. Where are you? Just UK, Jamaica?
Oh
What
no,
part?
I'm Ghanaian.
Ghana. Oh, well, you're Nigerian, basically. That's. I mean, that's the same thing. you know. So Welcome. Anyway, yes. So, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on what we're talking about? I think we were just actually talking about the unification, but what are your general thoughts on everything? If you've been listening.
About the whole
Yeah.
unite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay, so like I believe like yeah, Africa should have, one currency. But the whole unifying, like, I don't know, like it's just it'll be like too much. Like, I don't know, too many walls, like I don't know. It'll just be a bit too much. But a currency would be better.
Mm.
Basically, like, you know what Nigeria, Mali, Burkina Faso are doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like something like that. You know what I mean?
Now, let me give you some caveats. Did you watch my video on Julius Malema's Borderless Africa speech?
No.
Okay. Have any of you guys watched that video?
Yes, I have.
I was in there talking to you, wasn't I? Was that the one of the
Oh
ones?
yeah. Yes, you were in it. You were in there when I was
Mhm.
recording that. War Dog, have you seen it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Julius explained something, and Carly, you should listen to this. So Julius said that, and I know that I'm going to get Julius on the show at some point.
Oh
So
wow.
I'm joking.
No, let's shoot for
Well,
that.
no, let's dream about
Speak
that
it
for a
into
minute. Yeah,
existence.
let's put that
So
out there.
so what he said was the people the people who've made us believe that it's an impossible thing and told us about all the reasons why we can't have a union, African Union and borderless Africa are the people who themselves have a borderless community. You see, it's about how you think about it. You see, when you say borderless, automatically the instinct you have, and that's what the people play on, is this idea that you can just walk around and their borders will disappear and that's not technically what it means. What it means is what the European Union is. So if you're in the EU, the EU doesn't have borders anymore. It's just, if you're in the EU and you have that little thing on your passport, you can literally just go anywhere you want in the EU. You just go there. You show your passport so they know where you're coming from. So what has happened is that your passport is just a tracking mechanism. It's not something that's preventing you from going somewhere because you're in the EU. Once you're in the EU, you can go to any EU country and just get on the plane, no visa, nothing. You just need to pay for your plane tickets and you show your passport when you get and you walk in. Simple.
Merk, I don't know if I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I
Yeah,
don't know
go
if
on,
you
go
want.
on.
You took the words right out of my mouth, and just like speaking about like what Callie said as far as it being too much, maybe trying to
Too many
unify
tribal
everyone.
stuff.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean like it'll be like I feel like there'll be like too many tribal wars. Like, but
No. Yeah, no, I hear you. And I understand why you feel that way. And the point I'm making is that what you're doing is you're saying that, for example, if the borders disappear, a Ghanaian coming to Nigeria still would have a Ghanaian passport, but he doesn't need a visa to come to Nigeria anymore. You can just come to Nigeria. We know you're here. We have your whatever your particulars. But I think what Julius was trying to make was the point he was making was the incentive for people to just leave their countries and go to other countries isn't as high as people think it is because there are
Right.
problems everywhere. So for a Ghanaian, he's not going to be like, I'm going to leave everything I know to be poor in Nigeria. I'll rather be poor in Ghana. Like, which is how it is in Europe. It's like a poor Italian isn't suddenly thinking that, you know what, I think I want to go and be poor in London. They're just like, they're not doing that. The people who are coming to the UK are coming from a lot of other countries. And I'm not trying to say that you don't have some of that happening. Of course you do. Like even in London, you'll have people from Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, all these sort of people who are on the streets and everything. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. But the benefits of the EU to a lot of the EU nations are greater than any of the deficits. I think that for Africa, when we talk about unifying Africa, it isn't just disintegrating anything, it is about making it easier for commerce to occur, making it easier for people to move around, making it easier for cultures to communicate. Let me tell you something. Do you know that most of the unrest in Africa, do you think that it's real? Do you actually believe that? Do you
No.
think that all
No.
of these insurgents, isn't it a weird thing that every African country in West Africa is dealing with insurgencies? Who's supplying the weapons to all of these people?
Mm.
And why
Different
is it? And also, listen, let me ask you this. Why is it that in order to battle all of these insurgencies in every African country, France and UK and America are required? Isn't that convenient?
And the
That
insurgencies get worse when
and they
they're
get worse,
involved.
and America just
When
can't
they're
stop
involved.
them. No,
Mhm.
listen. France just they don't know how to stop the Let me tell you something. Let me give you an example of this. In Niger, France have been fighting the insurgency for like 11 years, 10 years. As soon as Niger kicked out France, they beat the insurgents in about 2 months.
Mhm.
They're finished. The insurgents are gone now. France couldn't do it with all their technology. That is because they didn't want to get rid of the insurgents. That was never the goal. The goal was to make sure the insurgency continues insurging forever. Because the insurgency...
And no other African nation would say anything about it. They'll sit quiet and they won't intervene.
Nobody, no, because everybody's like, I think everybody is complicit. Everybody has a hand in this stuff. Everybody's involved, so I think people are waking up now. I think that the community, the African community is waking up. I think people are beginning to understand that they've been hoodwinked, and that all these Boko Haram and all this do you think that those guys are just able to survive without input from the West? Do you really believe that? Of course they're getting funded. That's how they stay alive. And as long as they're there, it allows validation for all of these other people to come and start messing around in your country. Oh, we're coming to help. We're coming to... Listen, if England wanted to wipe out Boko Haram in 48 hours, they could do it. 48 hours, 2 days, they would wipe those guys out if they wanted to. They don't want to do that. They have no interest in it because their presence there validates continued interference from Western nations. That's why they're kept alive. So we need to take care of our own affairs. And again, it comes down to us that I don't believe the Nigerian government is serious about getting rid of Boko Haram either. Do you think that the Nigerian army cannot wipe those guys out if they really wanted to do it? And I'm not talking about the soldiers. It's not their fault. Well, who knows? I don't even want to speak for anybody. But I have a hard time believing that the people in the bush, like guerrillas, basically, with small arms fire and all this sort of stuff, have been able to survive there for the last, 12 years. It's hard for me to believe that, let alone that it's existing all over the African continent. No. And I think now people are wising up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone else had to say anything, but I mean, the analogy that you could kind of look at this from is if another country, I'm in the United States, right? I'm in the Southwest. That would be the equivalent of another country coming into my state, into my city, controlling and giving the laws and regulations on how we deal with trade, how we deal with natural resources that we acquire. So the concept is not let's make everyone the same as one Africa and everyone have the same edict. We can just have a level of code like Western countries have. There are different states within the US that have different customs, different histories, but on a federal level, they understand to a certain degree that we have assets and we have things to protect within our country.
Right.
We shouldn't be dealing as a people with Congo, suffering the way that they're suffering right now. We shouldn't be dealing with insurgencies of different individuals from different countries trying.
More dog is going in and out.
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit.
Of one Africa are to protect our interests. I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Say that last line again. Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can now, yes. Are you on your phone or
okay? All right, sorry
Wi-Fi?
about that. Yeah, I think I'm on my phone. That may be the issue.
Yeah, are you on Wi-Fi or your data? Because your service is going a little bit in and out. Okay, yeah, we can't hear you. But listen, look, I think now, looking forward, I think things have changed. I think all of these movements and everything that people are doing has changed things. I think people are beginning to catch on. What has really excited me is how a lot of very young people seem to be energized for all of this. Even in my own following and people who've been following my platform, I see a lot of young people who are very interested in these conversations, very interested in engaging in it. And I think that is heartening to see. I think it's a good thing. And I think one thing that I think is going to come out of this, and I don't want to be negative, I think this is just me being realistic about where I see things, is that there is now going to be a greater push for a delineation, like I said very early in this show, a delineation between people within the community that are for us, that are for making things better, improving things, taking us to where we need to go, and those who are not, those who want to maintain the status quo, essentially the Trojan horse people. And I think that there is now going to be a greater drive and a greater awareness of such people and a greater push to remove such people from the path that we need to be on. And I think that really makes me happy. It makes me happy to see that. It makes me happy to think that, we are in a position where we'll be able to police ourselves, for want of a better word, and I think that is really, really important. I think the days aren't gone yet, but I think that the days are going where we are being told who we can and cannot trust. And I think that is a very, very big step for the community, is to get to a position where you are dictating who you can and cannot trust, who you want to listen to, who you don't want to listen to. Because yes, even to this day, we still, especially in America, where the mainstream is letting you know which Black people you can listen to and which ones you can't, which I think is actually really unfortunate. And I think that still exists to this day. It's like you still have a situation where, all of a sudden somebody has fallen foul and they're like, you know what, this person is canceled. And I'm like, wait, canceled by who? Because you don't like him doesn't mean that this person doesn't have value for the community.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think it's the world that we're living in, that we're willing to accept that. Basically, there is no white person that will tolerate Black people telling them that they shouldn't listen to somebody that they feel is worth listening to. They'll just laugh at you. They just laugh at you. Mm-hmm. That if any other community outside of the white community is going to tell them that they shouldn't listen to somebody, they'll just be looking at you like, what, are you high? The audacity of you even saying it would be laughable. But we allow that. It's once you invert it, is how you see how ludicrous it is. Because we're so used to it happening, we don't realize, a lot of people don't realize how ludicrous that you're sitting here where a white person is telling the black community that this guy is a bad person, you need to cancel that person. Don't listen to that person, they're bad. And you're like, what? Like, yeah, you have a right to have your opinion. Please go ahead, have every opinion, but your opinion doesn't dictate how we feel about our community. It's the same thing, like, when I'm talking about, the Putin thing and all this sort of stuff. It's like, no, man, like, you've got to have the power to make up your own mind and make your own decisions. And I think that is what this year has really been about. It's about a lot of Africans really just saying that, listen, I don't give a damn what you guys think. This is how we're going to go forward. War Dog, are you back in the house? Are you okay?
Can you hear me a little bit better?
Yes, this is better now. This is good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally agree with what you're saying. What we're suffering from, when you're talking about how, white individuals can make certain black individuals appear in media, and what you should agree with and what you should not. These are nothing but the effects of our integration into this system.
Right.
You see, we can't function properly trying to bolster up and support the system that we've integrated ourselves into. This is
Right.
why I agree with the Julius Malema concept, because it's not about just creating one state for everyone. It's about creating a level of code for all of us to
It's
follow.
a level of code, right?
It's
Right.
a level of code, So when we deal with trying to build industry, me personally, I'll be walking this spring. I'm a biology major with a minor in chemistry.
Okay.
If we don't have individuals that are interested in those fields of study to develop farms, to develop our sciences, to develop schools and agriculture infrastructure, then what are we doing? See,
Right.
integration made us too comfortable, and this integration has happened here in the U.S. and also in South Africa to a certain degree.
Right. You're saying
You
something
see?
very, very dangerous. Listen, I want to comment on that. Let's just take a quick commercial break. I want to comment on that because what you're saying, we've got 10 minutes left of the show. Last 10 minutes. Take a quick commercial break, and then I'll catch up right with what you just said. Developing a thriving community to uncover hidden African history, stimulate critical thinking, and build bridges between Africa and the diaspora requires resources. It cannot be done without you. Consider joining our Patreon family to support my work, where you can watch ad-free videos early, utilize the chat feature, participate in Patreon-only live shows, and be a part of my creative process. Visit the Patreon link at themerc.io, pick your membership tier, and let's make history together. Man, oh man, oh man. Yes, guys. So everybody, that's make sure that you check out the Patreon and newsletter. Actually, you go to themerc.io for both links, including the Crusaders as well. I am actually putting together. Oh man, I mean, there's a lot of stuff I'm putting together, but there is going to be some digital option for some of the stuff that I make. The Crusaders as well will have digital options that you'll be able to access soon enough. Also, and I wanted to say this, that I'm going to thank you, D. Tracy. Thank you, D. Tracy, for the super chats. Much appreciated. Thank you for the super chats, D. Tracy. What I'm going to do, and somebody brought this up before. I'm working on, it was you, my golden life. I'm working on a Return to Africa handbook.
Wow.
I'm working on it so that you guys are going to have an ebook that is going to go step by step of all the things you need to go back to Africa. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm working on.
Okay.
I'm working on.
Hurry up.
It's actually a package. So I'm doing a big package. The package is going to include, this is a exclusive, I'm telling you guys. Like, a lot of people don't even know I'm doing this. I'm doing a full package of a lot of things that will help. It's just taking a long time because I have to do all the, get all the materials together. But I'm going to do a package, and it's all going to be available. If you're on the Patreon, I'm going to be able to give you some stuff for free. on the Patreon. If people are Patreon members, so you'll get that for free.
Nice.
Some of the stuff. And depending on the tier, I'll tier it. So maybe people at the top tier might get everything for free. But there are different things, because you've mentioned it a lot. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to create something that just gives everybody, just anybody who wants it, a lot of information. Because remember that I talked about, I'm doing history books of history of Nigeria, Ghana, Ethiopia, all of these sort of things. I'm working on those, but I think I can create something that covers all these areas that people can have. Because I think you're right. A lot of people, probably millions of people, just don't know how to get started. I see that my focus has gone off. What's going on with my focus? Let me get my focus back in. There we go. A lot of people don't know how to get started in moving back. They just don't even know where to begin, what things to take care of, what things to look into. So I'm going to definitely put something together for that. So look for that in the new year.
I'll be looking because I'm creating my plan now.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, and also you're on the Patreon, so I'll be getting feedback from you guys as I build it, to give me some insight, so I make sure that I'm building it the right way, because I think that will be of great value to a lot of people. What I'll do is that I'll do different versions. There'll be a checklist as well version, which will be very light, that people can use just as a checklist, of things that they need to take care of. And then there'll be a more detailed version of steps you can take, things, resources, and all that sort of stuff. But I think more than anything, it's really just steps, of this is what you do, this is what you should look into, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do for that, get everything together. And then one of the most important factors is actually making the decision of where you want to go. And I think that is where these other books I'm making will come into it, because then you can read up on different countries and then make a decision of which country you think actually would appeal to you the most, That being said, let me get back to what War Dog was saying before I went on the break. So as we're winding down, I think this is a good topic to end the show on, and it is segregation and integration. Very controversial position, but that was probably the worst thing that happened.
Yep, it was.
It was really the worst thing that happened. Like, because when you think about it now, of the fact that you've got a community in America that own nothing, everything is controlled by somebody else. Like, you have to just think that if you were still segregated, you would own everything that you use out of pure necessity, because you would have to own everything, because you're not allowed to use the other people's stuff. It's as crazy as it sounds. I'm like, that is what it's better. Am I wrong? Is that crazy?
You know what's even crazier? I feel like back then, when we talk about the emancipation, we'll just talk about the Africans of the diaspora in the United States. In less than 50 years, individuals created cities and industries after being slaves. After being slaves.
Yeah.
In today's age, we have more access to information. We have more individuals in college than we ever had. We are in certain positions of professionalism. Yet, we contribute our energy to other things outside of the development of our own cities, our own community.
It's madness.
It's madness.
Yeah.
Thank you, Super Pace. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you, Super Pace, for the super chat. Much appreciated as always. Very grateful for the support. Thank you so much. It's sad. I listen, again, it's a controversial position because when you say it and people hear that, it sounds very harsh. When you say it would be better if we were segregated, it's like, oh my goodness, that's racist. And it's like, when you really break it down, you're like, man, if we were segregated, we wouldn't have a choice. We would not have a choice but to build things. We would have to build things. You'd have to build schools, hospitals. You'd have to have your own security force. So you'd essentially have your own police. So then you wouldn't have people getting shot in the streets unarmed anymore. You wouldn't have any of that happening.
us to have our own police force. Nope, they wouldn't allow that. That would not be allowed in America.
Well, no, I guess what I'm saying is that, when there was segregation back then, they had their own security in those cities. Like in Tulsa, they had their own security. They had their own. It was still American police, but all the police officers in Tulsa were black. I mean, there were some white police officers, but they were mainly black police officers. So what I'm saying is that it was still the American police force, but in that neighborhood, because it was segregated, a lot of the officers were black officers in Tulsa. So, look, I'm just saying, like, it
Yeah.
The idea of separation can be remedied when we show individuals that production and being producers again will empower us. We're told that separation is something that is negative, something that is counterproductive, it's racist.
Right.
But in reality, that only empowers us. That's what they don't want us to do, is to be empowered. That may be negative to them, but for us it is positive.
Right.
To be able to produce our own again.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you, War Dog.
I agree. And I think that is what they're afraid of, because I look at it and I say, look, this is at this stage, one of the big fallacies that we have is that we believe that the medication for our society is the same medication for the white society. The white society have their own problems, but the medicine for their problems isn't the same medicine for us. We have a very, very different illness. So that if you think that you're going to be able to use the same strategies for fixing white society that you will use to fix black society, you're crazy. We don't have the luxury of sitting around on Sunday to watch NFL. We don't have that luxury of sitting around on Sunday to watch Premiership football. We don't have the luxury. We do it, but we're doing it because we're a bunch of fools. That's why we're doing it. But if we were real and we knew what was going on, we don't have that luxury. They can do it because they're in a different position. So that they can chill on Sunday and watch football.
Yeah.
We do not have that luxury. Every day we have to be on, because we're so far behind the start line that it's going to take a monumental effort to get to the start line of society, just to get to the beginning. So to think that you're going to spend half your time just chilling, dancing, like, listen, it's one of the things that I said is just, you don't want to be a wet blanket. You don't want to be that guy. But when I see things of, you're dancing, you're playing, I'm like, guys, it's cool to have fun, but we're in trouble. Like, I think we need to, we have a lot of things to fix. A lot. And it's obviously it's a very difficult thing to do, because listen, I like watching sports as well as the next person. But I can tell you for a fact that this year, because of all the things that we've been focusing on, I haven't had time to do any of that stuff.
Same here.
I haven't had time. And I'll even, let me go a bit crazy on this. It's that Colin Kaepernick in America nailed and got kicked out of the NFL, and black people still watch the NFL. They still watch it. And not only that, a lot of black people, because if they feel guilty about it, they make excuses as to how it's his fault that he got kicked out, because they want to just watch it so badly, and they want to pretend that it's okay, and they're not, playing themselves out, that they have to figure out a way to villainize him so that they can validate their decision to continue to watch the NFL. When I saw that, like, I actually think, and this is just real, I do not know if you guys watch it, I do not understand how a Black American can turn on their TV set or put their hand into their pocket and pay for a ticket to go and watch the NFL, when the NFL have categorically told you, we don't give a damn about your issues. They've basically said that to you categorically. And not only that, the guy that was standing up for you, we are going to run him out of town. And what are you going to do about it? Let me tell you this. The way that Black America have reacted to that whole thing, I wouldn't respect them if I was white. Why would I? Why would I? Like, if I was Steve Godell or whatever his name is, and all these guys, Jerry Jones, why the hell would I respect Black people? Like, you can do that and they're still going to pay. And they're still going to wear their helmets and pads and come and play for you and entertain you. And they were even doing it through the protests. Come on. Listen, put yourself in their position. Why would you respect this group of people? Why? And I'm just being objective here. If you were in their position and you saw that, you were able to treat people that way, and they would still come back and pay you and play for you, why would you respect them?
You wouldn't. You wouldn't.
I'm looking at... Go on, please. Go ahead.
But you have to remember, they're so invested in the sport. There's like so many people, so many of us in the sport. We make the sport. So when you have to like bear that in mind, because people are not going to stop watching it when there's so many of our own there that we support, that we, that make us feel like we're winning in this world. So I think that's partly to do with it as well.
I agree with you, Dario Leslie. And we have made so much noise about representation matters, and we need to be represented in these different sectors. And so, yeah, they've given us actually what we've wanted. We're represented in the NFL, the NBA, and all those different. I mean, more than half of the teams, half of the players in the teams are Black, but they're powerless. They're well-paid slaves. But no one's looking at that. All they see is the representation, the Black
Right.
faces that are there, and they're willingly click on the TV to watch
Right.
those Black faces.
I
Yeah,
was one of
exactly.
those. I was one of those. I'm ashamed of myself, though.
Oh,
But I
Well,
was
I
I was
mean,
one of the people who was, representation, and I was one of those people back in the day.
I think most of us were at one point, until we realized we ain't getting nowhere with this nonsense.
Yeah.
We don't own anything. We have no power, even when you see a Black face on a poster.
Yeah, no, it
but
We're
was...
not
but they
getting
think that's
benefit,
power.
really.
That's the problem. They think it's power. That representation, they see that as power now. So
Hmm.
they're not thinking, oh, we don't own
No,
the NFL. They're
no.
not
Yeah,
thinking that big or that
yeah,
far.
Right,
yeah.
but
Oh,
right,
look, we got a
but
Black quarterback.
it's a
Oh,
false
look,
sense of
look.
power.
Yeah, it is a false
Exactly,
sense of
exactly.
power. Exactly. What up? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, the power really is for the people that have been chosen to be in those positions. And it's not even real power, it's privilege. It's like you're in a position where you're going to get paid, you're going to get invited to the events, you're going to be in the in crowd. So in that sense, that is what you get out of it. The representation for the sake of the rest of the people is to make the rest of the people believe that one day, if they work hard or they play hard or whatever, they might be chosen too.
Yes, and that's what I think that's the point that I was trying to make earlier, is that Yeah, we're thirsty for these images so that we can aspire to them.
Man, I mean, it's
Yeah,
it's difficult.
it's
It's
messy.
difficult because it's like you just don't know what it's going to take to break out of the cycle. I
Our
don't know.
children.
I think we do know.
Tell me,
Yeah, War
talk about
Dog,
I
it. Talk
think
about
I
it.
agree with you. Go ahead.
Go on.
sorry. Are you talking to
I
me?
come from a
Oh.
family. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Did someone else want to speak?
No,
No, no,
Wodo,
you
go ahead.
go. You go.
Okay. I come from a family that has owned three different businesses in my city since the late 60s. Um, we own a apartment complex, a laundromat, and a restaurant space, along with 20 acres of land. When we can see as a people the power in having that type of autonomy to be able to create ourselves and be producers again, then that will be the change that we want to see. We can't keep sitting here looking at individuals in the NFL and we're looking at celebrities high up in the ranks. And I know America has talked about this endlessly till he was blue in the face. Just about all of our so called greats that haven't done, you know, the dramatic change that we need to see, the dramatic shift in our culture. It's really going to boil down to being producers again, and that's at the root of of separation and integration conversation. It's not about hatred. See,
Right.
we've been told that that talk promulgates or promotes hatred. And it's not hatred that it produces. What it produces is a form of autonomy for ourselves and say so over our livelihood. But if we can't do that simple thing, we're going to continue to do what? We're going to continue to talk down about each other. Like Merck said, we'll buy a ticket, right? And as soon as someone in the NFL stands up or takes a knee and Black Lives Matter comes out and we all get riled up, we have a wave of black people that go against us and
Oh
say,
yeah.
well, you shouldn't be doing that. Well, you shouldn't be doing that. You
Oh
know?
yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
it's really the mindset. People think that there's nothing outside of the system that we're already in, the capitalist system that we're already in. When in reality, there are many other realities that we can have as a people if we only pull our resources together that we have. Our intelligence, our academic rigor, our professionalism. We have more of it than we ever have in 100 years, yet we've used less of our power. There were less individuals 100 years ago with degrees, engineers. There were less, and they did more.
Right. Right. Well, less.
And they did more,
Less money,
right?
less resources, less ability. No, listen, it's astonishing. And what I think is even crazier is the people praising folks who aren't doing anything. It's like, I mean, my God, if you're a billionaire or you have 400 million, opening a school or opening that is not that hard to do. Like it's, if when you have a certain amounts of wealth, doing those things isn't that big a deal. But the reality is that it's not really just about that. So, for example, opening a school is something people do, but the problem is not actually the school; it's what you're being taught. Like that's the real conversation to have. The real issue is that what is it that we're actually teaching people? What is actually in the curriculum? And how is it shaping people to have a particular kind of worldview? So for our children, is I'm more concerned about, hey, let us take a long, hard look at education, the content of education, to make sure that future generations are fully aware of a lot of things that we didn't get taught when we were growing up. I mean, that's really my view with it. But I think, look, we've come to the end of the show now, but I'm going to give everybody a last word. But I'll say this from my end is that the idea of, I think segregation sounds like a very hard word, but I think a softer way of looking at it is that you need a level of autonomy. You need to be able to operate separate from the machine in order for you to actually have salvation. Like, if you're constantly, if you're doing anything where you require the input from something outside of the community, outside of your group, you're already compromised. And I think that is why all the stuff that has been happening in Africa over the last 12 months, all the stuff that is happening in Burkina Faso and Niger and so forth, is almost like a microcosm of what we're talking about, because what they're doing is that, hey, we're going to take control of our most basic resources, and then we can build off that. Because once we're controlling our most basic resources, doing anything else we need to do in our country, we don't need to go to anybody to ask for permission to do it. It's ludicrous that any African nation has any debt to anybody, because you're producing the resources. So how do you have debt? And you have debt because your debt is coming from artificial products. People coming to build things or give you things using the resources that you're producing. You shouldn't have, African countries should not have any debt whatsoever. Other countries should be owing you. Okay, guys, last words. I'll go round like War Dog. You first. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with everything you're saying, and I think it's also a great point when you said segregation may sound harsh, and like I said, we've been socialized over decades to internalize the idea of segregation as being something that's negative. But at the end of the day, it's what you say. It's autonomy. It's having a sense of control over what it is that you produce for your people. You're talking about school. Yes, we can build schools, but what can we learn? What is going to be taught in those schools? Teaching the youth about their power and their ability to create for themselves, not leaning and relying on what, like you said, someone outside of the community is trying to tell them about themselves. No, we have the answers within. So really, that's really what I want to leave off on. Starting with understanding our power and our autonomy by studying our history here in the United States, in Haiti, in South Africa, West Africa, and really see how we can pull together with more money that we generate and more knowledge that we have access to.
100%. 100%. The real Leslie. The real Leslie.
I think I agree with mostly everything you said as well. You asked earlier what can unify Africa or Black people in the world in general, and I think it's starting with the kids, starting with the next generation, teaching them what we never got taught. Like you mentioned, I think that's so crucial now because there's so much things that has changed that has been used against us just because we didn't know our story, the narrative, and where we came from. I think that's very key to generate a new generation that are not brainwashed, that are not polluted with all these ideas that we're currently trying to un un what's the word, unravel. So yeah, I would say that's one of the key things to do. And imagery, that's what I was saying about the NFL is so important. We we think we're winning by winning these awards, being on these teams, etc., etc. But if you start it from the kids, you can have there's even a niche. I was gonna say this earlier, but to do like the Merc TV with with the animation of kids, and maybe have the the your book as in imagery in like film, and have it for kids to watch. This is probably later on, but this is the idea that I was thinking of, because there's such a niche for that, and there's a lot of people that are doing similar things, but not with the history of Africa and not on that sort of direction. So that's something you could look into maybe later on. But I think it's the
What
kids,
is
to be
this
honest.
to do a TV show? You mean?
Yes, the Merc TV, like there's I think water, Coco Melon, and all these very whitewashed kids shows that they
Oh,
teach
the
basically
kids show. All right,
exactly, they
right.
teach the ABCs, they teach all these things, and they teach the holidays of the year, Halloween. We don't need to know about Halloween, but we do need to know about where we came from. So I think doing something like that, using you say you do film, I think using that might be a great idea for the future, to incorporate history and learning with the kids and starting it from young that way.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, no, thanks. Sounds very good ideas. Callie, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Um, I agree with everyone's point. Um, like to be honest, like I feel like Africans should start and the rest of African descendant people, I feel like we should start being selfish. Stop giving everything to I don't know. Stop giving. I don't know explain it, but like stop giving everyone. What's that word?
Our culture.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, culture, like everything, like it's like I just feel like we just need to be like very selfish of like what we own, and you know own a lot of like we need to start owning stuff, instead of looking out for others that are like from a different ethnicity or race. Yeah, that's about
Right,
it.
right, right, right. Yeah, no, 100%, 100%, definitely.
Yeah,
And
because
fine.
like
Yeah, go
it's
on.
it's getting annoying. Like it's like every time black people like they'll always stick up for like someone that's like from a different group from them, ethnic group, race. Like worry about yourself, like
Right, 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 right.
because we have problems, you know what I mean? Like we have a lot of things that we need to fix in our community, and the other communities are fine, you know what I mean? They're doing like, quite well for themselves. But for us, it's not going well. Like we have so much, like so many problems. But yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. And my golden life, finally. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you saved the best for last. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with everything that everybody said. Um, and Callie, I always say, we should stop putting on the cape for everybody else and worry about our own issues, solve our own problems,
Yeah.
stop running out to the front line for Palestine and Israel, and fight for our own causes and our own um, uh, negative conditions. Fight to lift ourselves up out of those negative conditions. Um, the I don't know who it was, either War Dog or the real Leslie was talking about having owning our own stuff in our own communities. Well, right now, our communities are just a bunch of Black people living together. not really,
Right. They're just living together. Yeah.
cohesive. Yeah, not having one cohesive
Right.
ideology or thought process about anything. So I think the real task is going back beyond, um, searching for our history beyond colonialism, going past that to see exactly how our ancestors created real community and how they how they dealt with each other in community together and how those communities thrived, and maybe take some principles. I mean, we don't live back in that time, pre-colonial days, but we live now, but we can at least apply some of those principles that they use to form community, and um, to have that cohesiveness amongst each other. I think that's the first way to actually start building a real community for ourselves. And we're so diverse as people all over the world, but we have this one common thing that binds us together, and that is that we are descendants of Africa, and everybody hates us.
Word.
So, we got to start with that.
Word.
That should be a unifying force for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to come together around that, and our the issues that are on the continent are not really that different from the issues in the Caribbean, that are not really that different from the issues that are in the US and the UK.
Right.
It's all based on this thing around, you know, us being an inferior race, and that we should not
Right.
have power, we should not have
Right.
autonomy, we should not think for ourselves. So
Right.
that should be a unifying factor for us to create this village, this communal village, worldwide communal village.
Listen, I will leave it with this for this show. We are the one group that has no secret service, no espionage, no spies, none of that. Yet we're the most conspired against.
Hmm.
That doesn't make any sense. Like
That makes
everybody
no
else has
sense. It's what I was saying
everybody
earlier.
everybody has espionage, everybody has spies, everybody. There is not a single African country that has a proper, I'm talking about black African country that has a
Okay.
proper, you know, secret set like intelligence agency that is just there for intelligence, and they have a budget every year, millions that are being pumped into do you know the kinds of things an African intelligence agency could find out that's going on out there? In fact, it would probably be so scary that they'd all probably lose their minds when they find out what's being plotted, you know but I think the reason why I'm saying this is that there are so many things that the community needs that we don't have. The fact that in Black America, all these black players, 70%, 65 or 70% of NFL players are black. And I think NBA, it's 80% of the players or 70 or 90, I don't know what it is, percentage of NBA players are black. And you guys don't own the league? You don't own the league. How is that all those players are black, but such a small percentage of the coaches are black? This is what it means that a group of people are conditioned to be followers. They're
Yeah.
conditioned to not want to be leaders. They're conditioned that when they see a white person, they default to, hey, take control of me. You own me. Tell me what to do. That is like the default position. Because otherwise, it makes no sense that in all these fields where you completely dominate the workforce, you are not actually, because think about it, if all the black players in the NFL walked off the job and all the black players in the NBA walked off the job, the league collapses.
Yeah.
It just collapses immediately. If they all just walked off the job and went to play, do you think that if Steph Curry and all these people went and played in their own league, the fans wouldn't watch them because it's a black owned league? Of course they'd watch them. Because remember, I think this is what people get confused about this thing. This is not an all black league. It's that black people own the league. Everybody can play in it. It's not this. because whenever you say it, people just say, "Oh, racist." You just want to make an old. No, it's not. No, it's not a league for black players. It's a league that is owned by black people because they are the predominant contributors to it. And again, that is something that you just have to want it bad enough. It would become a reality tomorrow if you want it bad enough. And like I said, there's just too many people who they just like the status quo. For a lot of people, imagine if you're making 20, 30, 40 million dollars a year. Why would you be advocating for potentially cutting your salary to like maybe 500,000 a year? For the first few years you do it, if you did do it. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, for a lot of folks, it's like, nah, I'd rather just pretend like everything's okay and keep him pushing and keep going forward. Anyway, guys, I need to shut this down. What a show. What a show. My God. Damn, that was pretty long. Thank you so much for joining. We've covered a lot, and there were so many more things that we didn't even have time to cover. So, when we do the New Year's show, we'll get onto those things. As I said, there's a whole bunch of videos coming through. So really pay attention to that. If you're listening on the podcast and so on, the episodes do come out, or I will hope will start coming out more frequently on the podcast. But this will obviously for all members. This will go into the members section after the 48-hour watch period. As anybody who's been on my platform knows that the live replays, if you want to watch the live back, will be available in the members section on YouTube. What else do we have going on? I've already talked
Merc,
about.
I've been having issues with trying to access your videos behind the paywall. I do pay monthly, but I
What's
can't
the problem?
seem
It
to
doesn't
access
work?
them after the 48 hours.
It just doesn't play? Like what happens?
It'd just be like your face. Like it'll just show your face or the video, but it won't like let me press play on the actual video. I don't know what it is, or if you can send a link or.
Wait. Okay. So is anybody else having that issue? Anyone else?
I haven't had any issue.
Okay.
No.
So it's everybody else. It's play. The videos play for you in the member section.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
War Dog, are you sure? I mean, you must be a member because you're in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. You know what? That's the sort of thing I would suggest you message YouTube. Do you have access to the YouTube? I'm not sure if YouTube even. I'm not sure if you're able to do that as a subscriber, because I have YouTube customer service. Because that is really weird. If you're a member, it should work, and you can access the member section. Are you able to go into the member section?
I can't comment in the chat either. Like it's very weird.
Can't.
But I'm able to talk to you right now. Yeah.
That is weird.
I shouldn't even be able to get onto the panel if I'm not a
Well, you know what it might be? I think I know what it might be. Callie, are you a member? Callie, are you a YouTube member? Oh, Callie, are you there? You know what I think it is? War Dog, I don't think that you're a member. I think that might be what it is. And I think that you're able to access this because I gave a direct link for call-ins.
Hello?
Callie, yes, I hear you now.
Yeah, sorry, it was my connection.
Because I'm looking, and War Dog, you are not a member on YouTube.
Okay, I'll go back and figure that out then. I'll try to resubscribe again.
That's the reason. Yeah. So what must have happened, and this happens to some people because I see a lot of people having to resubscribe. They've set it so it doesn't automatically bring you back every month. So for those people who haven't set it to auto renew, it just cancels your membership at the end of the month, and then you think you're still a member, but you're not actually. And that's probably
I
what's
think that's what
happened.
happened to me.
Yeah. Because I'm looking in the list and you're not there. And that's the reason why you're not able to comment in the comment section or view the videos. Because, yes, for the lives, yes. I mean, it's after a few days, I always put it behind, because, and actually part of the reason is because my lives are actually more about the community. And being able to, obviously communicate with people so you can ask me questions directly. We can talk in the way that we do. But I like to keep this as a privilege for the members to be able to actually watch the replays of the shows, because I want my main channel to be about the videos that I make when people actually go to the channel to watch them. And for this to just be a privilege for people who, because I mean, some of these lives are epic lives. They're so long. Like 3 hours, 2.5 hours, so it's good to be able to put them where people, if they want to just have it playing on in the background and so forth, they can chill out and really, get into it. So yeah, that's what I think you should do. Just check it out and see if you've been removed, and try and get that fixed that way. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. And War Dog, you should, I don't know if are you on the newsletter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because newsletter, be on the newsletter. And for video people, Patreon guys, I will get in touch with you because I'm going to talk to you a little bit more on the Patreon about the ebooks that I'm making and get your feedback. And Patreon guys, you've seen The Real Leslie. You need to go and watch that Palestine video that I made. The Palestine video will be available to YouTube soon, maybe this weekend, I'm not sure. But it's on Patreon now, so you should watch that. My Golden Life, what did you think of the Palestine video? What did you think of my thoughts in there? My Golden Life, what were your thoughts? Are you there? Uh-oh. Okay, might have lost her. But check it out, guys. I'm definitely looking forward to when everybody sees it. I'm interested in oh, right. Okay, yes. Yes. I think I did see that. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And till the next time.